The Nimitz Class aircraft carriers have a length of 1,092 feet, 333 meters overall, and 1,040 feet, 317 meters at the waterline, with a beam and 52 feet overall, and 134 feet at the waterline. The individual ships have slight variations in their dimensions. They were initially designed with a full load displacement of 87,000 long tons and a draft of 37 feet, but the ships would be delivered several thousand tons heavier, particularly for later members of the class. As the vessels were overhauled and installed more equipment, loaded displacement would climb to exceed 100,000 long tons. For example, U.S. Abraham Lincoln currently displaces 104,112 long tons at full load. The ship's nominal complement comprises 3,000 to 3,200, 1,500 and 500. The Nimitz Class is a class of 10 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers in service with the United States Navy. The lead ship of the class is named after World War II United States Pacific Fleet Commander Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, who was the last living U.S. Navy officer to hold the rank. With an overall length of 1,092 feet and a full load displacement of over 100,000 long tons, the Nimitz Class ships were the largest warships built and in service until U.S. Gerald R. Ford entered the fleet in 2017. All 10 carriers were constructed by Newport News Shipbuilding Company in Virginia. USN's Nimitz, the lead ship of the class, was commissioned on 3 May 1975, and U.S. George H.W. Bush, the 10th and last of the class, was commissioned on 10 January 2009. Since the 1970s, Nimitz Class carriers have participated in many conflicts and operations across the world, including Operation Eagle Claw in Iran, the Gulf War, and more recently in Iraq and Afghanistan. The angled flight decks of the carriers use a CTUBR arrangement to operate aircraft, with steam catapults and arrestor wires for launch and recovery, as well as speeding up flight deck operations. This allows for a much wider variety of aircraft than with the Stillwell arrangement used on smaller carriers. An embarked carrier air wing comprising around 64 aircraft is normally deployed on board. The air wing's strike fighters are primarily F/A-18E and F/A-18F Super Hornets. In addition to their aircraft, the vessels carry short-range defensive weaponry for anti-aircraft warfare and missile defense. The unit cost was about $8.5 billion in FY 2012 dollars, equal to $11.2 billion in 2023. The first ships were designed around the time of the Vietnam War, and certain aspects of the design were influenced by operations there. To a certain extent, the carrier operations in Vietnam demonstrated the need for increased capabilities of aircraft carriers over their survivability. They were used to send sorties into the war and were, therefore, less subject to attack. As a result of this experience, Nimitz Class carriers were designed with larger stores of aviation fuel and larger magazines compared to previous carriers, although this was partly a result of increased space available by the new design of the ship's propulsion system. In addition to the aircraft carried on board, the ships carry defensive equipment for use against missiles and hostile aircraft. These consist of either 2 or 3 RIM-7 Sea Sparrow or RIM-162 Evolved Sea Sparrow missile MiG-29 missile launchers designed for defense against aircraft and anti-ship missiles, as well as either 3 or 4 20mm Phalanx CLOs. U.S. Ronald Reagan has none of these, having been built with the MiG-49 guided missile launching systems for RIM-116 rolling airframe missiles, 2 of which have also been installed on U.S. Nimitz and U.S. George Washington. These will be installed on the other ships as they return for refueling complex overhaul. Since U.S. Theodore Roosevelt, the carriers have been constructed with 2.5 in Kevlar armor over vital spaces, and earlier ships have been retrofitted with it. Nimitz in 1983 to 1984, Dwight D. Eisenhower from 1985 to 1987, and Carl Vinson in 1989. The ship's other countermeasures are 4 Sipican SR-BOC 6-barrel MiG-36 decoy launchers, which deploy infrared flares and chaff to disrupt the sensors of incoming missiles. which deploy infrared flares and chaff to disrupt the sensors of incoming missiles, an SDDS torpedo defense system, and an AN/SFQ-25 Nixie torpedo countermeasure system. The carriers also use AN/SLQ-32 jamming systems to detect and disrupt hostile radar signals in addition to the electronic warfare capabilities of some of the aircraft. The presence of nuclear weapons on board U.S. aircraft carriers since the end of the Cold War has neither been confirmed nor denied by the U.S. government. As a result, the presence of a U.S. aircraft carrier in a foreign port has occasionally provoked protests from local people. For example, when Nimitz visited Chennai, India, in 2007. At that time, the strike group commander Rear Admiral John Torrance Blake stated, "The U.S. policy is that we do not routinely deploy nuclear weapons on board Nimitz." In order for a carrier to deploy, it must embark one of 10 carrier air wings. CVW. Note 3. The carriers can accommodate a maximum of 130 F/A-18 Hornets, 38 or 85 to 90 aircraft of different types, but current numbers are typically 64 aircraft. Although the air wings are integrated with the operation of the carriers they are deployed to, they are regarded as separate entities. As well as the aircrew, the air wings are also made up of support personnel involved in roles including maintenance, aircraft and ordnance handling, and emergency procedures. Each person on the flight deck wears color-coded clothing to make their role easily identifiable. Harry S. Truman's maiden deployment was in November 2000. The carrier's air wing flew 869 combat sorties in support of Operation Southern Watch, including a strike on Iraqi air defense sites on 16 February 2001, in response to Iraqi surface-to-air missile fire against United Nations coalition forces. After the September 11 attacks, Carl Vinson and Theodore Roosevelt were among the first warships to participate in Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. Carl Vinson sailed towards the Persian Gulf intending to support Operation Southern Watch in July 2001. This changed in response to the attacks, and the ship changed course to travel towards the North Arabian Sea, where she launched the first airstrikes in support of the operation on 7 October 2001. After the September 11 attacks, Carl Vinson and Theodore Roosevelt were among the first warships to participate in Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. Carl Vinson sailed towards the Persian Gulf intending to support Operation Southern Watch in July 2001. This changed in response to the attacks, and the ship changed course to travel towards the North Arabian Sea, where she launched the first airstrikes in support of the operation on 7 October 2001. Following the attacks, John C. Stennis and George Washington participated in Operation Noble Eagle, carrying out Homeland Security operations off the west coast of the United States. All active ships have been involved in Iraq and Afghanistan since that time. This included the invasion in 2003, as well as providing subsequent support for Operation Iraqi Freedom since then. The carriers have also provided aid after natural disasters. In 2005, Abraham Lincoln supported Operation Unified Assistance in Indonesia after the December 2004 tsunami, and Harry S. Truman provided aid after Hurricane Katrina later in 2005. The Ronald Reagan Carrier Strike Group performed humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations in the Philippines in June 2008 after Typhoon Fengshan, which killed hundreds from the Central Island regions and the main island of Luzon. 78. In January 2010, Carl Vinson operated off Haiti, providing aid and drinking water to earthquake survivors as part of the U.S.-led Operation Unified Response, alongside other major warships and hospital ship Comfort.